I broke the cardinal rule and let my daughter read some of my book. Her comment was that I hope you don't plan to make much money. Your audience is limited to Christians. No one that is not a Christian will read your book. Although her comments were not negative about the book, it was like she thought, okay, here's the deal. This is like telling somebody what you're planning on naming your child. If you do it, you have to be prepared for them to say, really? You're going to name them that? And in all likelihood, they wouldn't say, really? You already named them that? Because once you've done it, unless they're like a real schmuck, they're going to go, oh. I mean, they're going to try. They're going to try, right? So this is where this is all born from, Becky, is expectations. So if you're honest with yourself, when you showed the book to your daughter, you were hopeful, or you had a hopeful expectation that she would be like, Mom, this is incredible. This is really incredible. And that's not what happened. So you feel like she poured cold water on your dreams. But I need you to change your perspective on that. So let's talk about the Christian thing for a second. I worked with another author about a year and a half ago, Alice in England. She wrote Tandem, a devotional for adopting with God in the lead. I think I mentioned this the other day. Her book has a very Christian focus. Her story has a very Christian focus. Her life has a very Christian focus. When we talked about it, I asked her, I said, there's no right or wrong answer to this question. I just want you to think about it. You're positioning this book to be for a Christian market, which means that you are, I don't want to say you're eliminating anyone who's not Christian, but kind of. Like if someone says, here's an example. I got a book at the library the other day called Anxious for Nothing by Max Lucado. I happen to really, really like Max Lucado, and I love reading books on anxiety because I have it. I started reading this book and I had a really hard time identifying with it because all of the solutions that he was offering, or all of the tips and tricks and strategies, were based on biblical passages. I have my own experience with all of that, and so it wasn't working for me. Doesn't mean that it wasn't a great book. Doesn't mean that it didn't sell millions of copies. Wasn't right for me. But if you're in the Christian space, you know who Max Lucado is, and you know that he does very, very, very well with that marketplace. So what it is whatever business you're in, whether you're a writer or an entrepreneur, look at businesses like Hobby Lobby or Chick-fil-A. Their Christian values are an absolute foundation of their business platform. They are not open on Sundays. They do not have a problem talking about their beliefs in God and biblical, the whole thing, right? It's part and parcel of their brand. Then you can have brands where the founders are perhaps Christian or Jewish or atheist or Muslim or whatever, and that's part of who they are, but it doesn't influence their brand. So what you have to decide, and I think you've already made this decision, because the more you talk about, Becky, your story, it's all about how faith played such a role. So the ideal reader of your book is going to be a faithful person. And if you are speaking specifically to Christian beliefs, then the people who are going to most identify with your book are Christians. And to your daughter's comment that if they're not Christian, they're not going to read it, if you tell me that the market for your book is everyone, I will tell you that the market for your book is no one. There is not a book on the planet that's for everyone. Not a single one. Find me one. I'll give you a prize. So the Christian market is enormous, as you know. If you only focused on the Christian market, you could do very, 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 very well. So I actually think that there's great benefit to knowing that your market is Christians or men or people who are pregnant with twins or people who like cats and hate dogs, that sort of a thing. So, Raglan, my book is clearly not for everybody, but for the right audience. The book is very entertaining, thought-provoking read, mostly baby boomers. Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Not every book is right for everybody. And you have to know who you're writing for. You have to know how they will benefit from your book, and you have to know how to reach those people. And that's the whole marketing joyride that we'll get on much later. So, Becky, I agree. It was her comment that I couldn't make money. The money part of it is so fascinating to me because people will pay for anything, whatever they decide its value is. So we go through a whole pricing module in the Publish a Profitable Book course on how you should price your book. And there are all these tried and true tips and strategies for, assessing the competition and making sure that you're not too high, but also making sure that you're not too low. And, the bottom line is if you want to swim in the same ocean with the same, I don't want to say sharks because that makes it sound, but fish, if you want to be in the same space as them, you have to position yourself in the same space as them. You can't say, well, I want people who would read Max Lucado to read my book, but people will pay $14.95 for him. I'm only going to ask them to pay $1.99 for me. That's the silliest thing that I've ever heard. So your daughter is clearly, well, I'm sure she's absolutely lovely, but she's making an assumption that your goal is to make money. Now, I know that's part of your goal, and that's fine. But the idea that guys, there is a gentleman in the Midwest somewhere right now. I don't know if he's still doing this, but he takes potatoes, Idaho potatoes. Google me if you don't believe me, and then you'll owe me a coffee. He takes potatoes, raw potatoes, and he takes a Sharpie and writes a message on them, and he ships them to people, and people pay like $10 to have that done. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life, and I think he made close to $1 million last year. Now, I hope he's putting that money aside because it was clearly a novelty thing, but people just thought it was hilarious to get a potato in the mail that said, like, hallelujah on it, or you go girl, or whatever. That was just like a big thing. And when word started to spread, then people were just doing it because it was like they couldn't even believe it was really happening, so they just ordered it. It's like, just take my $10. So people will pay money. We pay money for anything every single day. So the other argument we hear a lot is people saying, I just don't have the money right now. Like I just don't have $6.99 or $7.99 or $8.99 or $1,000 or whatever. In some cases, that's 100% true. We all have budgets. More often than not, pet rocks, bingo. More often than not, you'll hear someone say, I don't have $20 to invest in that right now. And then they drive through Starbucks and get an $8 venti frappuccino with 3 shots and extra caramel. So it's not what people have the money for. It's where they decide to invest their money. And that's why on your end of it, it is so important while you're writing to be incredibly clear about why you're writing the book, who you're writing it for, and how they're going to benefit from reading it. Why is there $15, there $13, there $9, whatever? It's an investment. It's not a cost. That's the way to look at it. We invest in things that make us happy, and the things that don't make us happy, we end up seeing as a cost. If it's your truth, and truth is the focus of your book, write your truth. 100%. That's 100%. Because you cannot please everybody. You just simply can't. I mean, my very first book, which was about twins, I didn't have a very big section on breastfeeding twins because it didn't work for me. I wasn't opposed to it. My God, I wish I could have done it on a number of levels. Just didn't really work. And I got some criticism from people who were like, you're so anti-breastfeeding. No, I'm not anti. I'm just not. I'm going to share with you my experience, which is if you feel absolutely horrible about yourself because it's not working for you, it's okay. Like you're not alone. Everything's going to be fine. Whatever. Now that I'm in the 3rd edition, I've been able to recruit some moms who did successfully breastfeed to write their stories so that we have that level of support too. But the key is write your truth. Don't write the truth that you think other people want to hear, because that makes you disingenuous. Now you're not telling your story. You're telling the story you think people want to hear. It's a wildly different thing.